Most people believe that their life improves when they set better goals. They believe this so completely that the opposite seems reckless. But if you observe the people who genuinely seem to have their lives together, not the loudest ones but the steady ones, you'll notice something. They rarely talk about goals. And when they do, it's almost an afterthought. Instead, they talk about routines, practices, what they do on Tuesday mornings, when they wake up, where they work, what they don't buy. They seem less interested in winning the future and more interested in surviving the present well enough that the future becomes irrelevant. This is not laziness. It is the opposite of laziness. It is the result of understanding something that most ambitious people never quite grasp. Systems outperform goals over the long term because goals are fragile and systems are not. The evidence is everywhere if you know where to look. The athlete who doesn't train for the Olympics trains 5 days a week regardless. It's just what they do. The writer who publishes consistently doesn't get inspired and write. They sit down at the same time and write whether inspired or not. The healthy person doesn't achieve health through an annual resolution. They move because it's woven into their day. The founder who builds something sustainable doesn't obsess over the 5-year plan. They run meetings at the same time, talk to customers on schedule, and iterate on a fixed rhythm. What all of these people have in common is that they've removed the question from the equation. They've designed their life so that the default behavior is the one they want. Goals, by contrast, keep the question alive. Every morning, should I do this today? Every week, am I winning or losing? Every month, do I still believe in this? The goal keeps you perpetually in a state of evaluation, and human beings are not neurologically designed to tolerate that state indefinitely. When you set a goal, you create a contract between today's self and some future self. The problem is that today's self must maintain continuous motivation to honor that contract, and motivation is not reliable. Motivation, in fact, is a terrible strategy for any behavior you need to sustain for longer than a few weeks. This is not a moral failing. This is neurology. The human brain is built for survival, not for abstraction. It is comfortable with immediate feedback, pain, pleasure, hunger, safety. It becomes increasingly uncomfortable the further the reward recedes into the future. A goal that will be satisfied in 6 months or 6 years or worse, never satisfied, because it's replaced by another goal, creates a state of prolonged dopamine withholding. The brain experiences this as low-level stress. Over time, that stress accumulates. People call this burnout. They call it loss of motivation. They call it a personal failure. What it really is a system fighting its own design. And then something breaks. The person abandons the goal. Or they power through and achieve it only to feel hollow, because the achievement was hollow. The real cost wasn't the goal itself. It was the constant self-doubt, the emotional volatility, the need to remotivate themselves every single day. When the goal is reached, they don't experience relief. They experience exhaustion, and they often can't explain why. The second problem with goals is that they tie self-worth to outcomes. You don't just want to get healthy, you become someone who is trying to get healthy. Your identity is now contingent on reaching a specific number on a scale or a specific distance run. This sounds like motivation. It's actually a threat. The human nervous system detects this as identity threat and defends against it. It resists. It finds reasons not to try. It protects itself by lowering expectations or simply disconnecting from the goal entirely. And the third problem is the most subtle. Goals make you future-focused at precisely the moment when you should be present-focused. You're optimizing for an outcome 3 months from now while neglecting the actual substance of your life, the hours you're living through right now. The goal asks you to sacrifice today's peace for tomorrow's achievement, but tomorrow never quite arrives. There's always another goal waiting. This is why so many high-achieving people feel hollow. They've optimized their life for a future that recedes at the same speed they move toward it. They've made the present a means to an end that may never actually feel like an end. Systems work differently. A system doesn't care about outcomes. A system cares about whether you showed up, whether you did the thing, whether you'll do it again tomorrow. This may sound less ambitious. It actually is more ambitious because it compounds. Consider two people. Both want to improve their health. Both are intelligent. Both genuinely care. The first person sets a goal: lose 30 pounds in 4 months, or complete a marathon by next fall, or get to the gym 5 times a week starting January. They buy a new gym membership. They download a workout app. They feel the rush of intention. For 2 weeks, maybe 3, they follow through. Their nervous system is flooded with the dopamine of progress. They feel like a different person. Then something interrupts. Work gets busy. A friend cancels. They miss a workout. At this point, their brain does something automatic. It recalculates whether the goal is still believable. They missed 1 session. Maybe they're not the kind of person who can do this. Maybe the goal was unrealistic. The emotional response isn't rational, it's protective. The nervous system is trying to save them from further failure. Most people quit here. Some push through, but the ease is gone. Motivation is now something they have to force. The experience of getting healthy has become the experience of fighting themselves. The second person decides to exercise. Not as an outcome to achieve, but as a thing they do. Tuesday and Thursday at 6 in the morning. That's just when they work out. Same place, same time. On Tuesday and Thursday, they don't decide whether to go. The question doesn't exist. The decision was made weeks ago. Their brain doesn't need to rally motivation because the neural pathway has already been worn deep. It's easier to go than to invent a reason not to. For the first month, the second person makes slower progress. They're going twice a week at a comfortable pace, not pushing themselves. They're not experiencing the dramatic motivation rush, but they're also not experiencing the crash. By month 3, something has happened. The habit is now a groove. It requires almost no willpower. Their body has adapted. They're getting stronger in a quiet way. By month 6, there's no competition. The first person either quit or is white-knuckling through a version of exercise that feels like punishment. The second person has been exercising consistently for 6 months. They've quietly gotten strong. They've lost weight without counting it. They've built a capacity that didn't feel like building because they were too busy following the system. This is the power of systems. They don't rely on emotional states. They don't demand motivation. They don't tie your identity to an outcome. They just run. And because they run, because they compound over time, they outpace the sporadic intensity of goal-driven effort every single time. The research on habit and behavior change backs this up. Studies on delayed gratification, motivation dynamics, and long-term behavior change all show the same pattern. People who construct their environment so that the desired behavior is the default behavior sustain change far longer than people who rely on willpower, inspiration, or outcome-focused motivation. The second group isn't lazier. They've just removed the friction from the equation. A system is simple. It's a repeatable process that runs regardless of how you feel on any given day. It is not a goal with steps. It is not a plan. It is not something you do until you reach a finish line and then stop. It is something you build into the structure of your life so completely that not doing it would require more effort than doing it. Some examples. You eat dinner at the same time every evening, so you don't have to think about what to eat or when. The system is the structure. Nutrition is what happens inside it. You answer emails every day at 9 in the morning, so you don't have to decide when to answer them, and people learn not to expect replies at midnight. The system is the routine. Productivity is what happens inside it. You call your mother every Sunday at 2, so the question of should I call my mother is already answered. The system removes the decision. Love is what happens inside it. You read for 30 minutes before bed, not because you're trying to read more books, but because 30 minutes before bed is reading time. The system is the slot. Learning is what happens inside it. This is radically different from goal setting. Goals ask, how do I get from here to there? Systems ask, how do I make sure that every Tuesday looks like this and every Thursday looks like that and that these patterns repeat for years? Goals create oscillation. Intense effort, plateau, motivation crash, abandonment, guilt, new goal, repeat. Systems create steady state. The same behavior day after day, year after year with no drama. Just slow, relentless improvement. Compounding. There is a reason systems feel calming and goals feel stressful. Your nervous system evolved to feel comfortable with pattern and repetition. Sameness is a signal of safety. Change is a signal of threat. When you set a goal, you are essentially saying to your nervous system, the way things are now is not acceptable. We are in a state of emergency until we reach this destination. Your nervous system hears threat and activates a low-level stress response. You feel the drive, yes, but you also feel the constant low-grade anxiety of not having arrived. When you build a system, you are saying, this is how life works now. This is the new normal. You can relax. Your nervous system hears stability and downregulates. You don't feel like you're fighting yourself anymore. You feel like you're flowing with yourself. This is why discipline can disappear with a good system. Discipline is what you need when you're fighting your own design. Systems align you with your own design. There's no fighting. There's just showing up, which is easy because it's the expected thing. This shift is profound. You move from someone who is trying to change to someone who is changed. The identity is no longer conditional. You don't have to prove it every day. You just are the person who does this thing, because you do this thing consistently, without negotiation. This doesn't mean running your entire life like a military operation. It means choosing a few key systems and making those non-negotiable. The rest of life can be flexible. Which systems matter? The ones that affect everything else. Sleep, movement, work rhythm, how you talk to the people you love, how you spend the first hour after waking, how you spend the last hour before sleeping. Get these right, and much of the rest of life adjusts itself. Get these wrong, and no amount of goal setting will fix it. A useful system is usually small and specific, not get healthy. Instead, walk for 20 minutes every morning before coffee, not be a better parent. Instead, no phone during dinner ever, not write a book. Instead, write 500 words at 9 in the morning. 5 days a week, not reduce stress. Instead, 10 minutes of meditation after lunch. The specific system removes decision-making. It makes the behavior the default. And because it's specific and bounded, it doesn't feel overwhelming. You can actually sustain it. The key is to shrink the unit of progress. You're not trying to become a writer. You're trying to write 500 words. You're not trying to become fit. You're trying to walk 20 minutes. These small, repeatable actions are not steps toward a goal. They are the goal, if you must call it that. They are the life you're building right now, not the life you'll build someday. At a certain point, something shifts. The systems have run long enough that they no longer feel like effort. The grooves have worn deep. And at that moment, you realize you don't actually care about the original goal anymore. You care about the system. You care about showing up. You care about the integrity of the process. This sounds like settling. It's actually peace. The goal, if you remember it, seems almost quaint. Did you really care about those specific numbers, or did you just want to feel capable? Did you really need to achieve that exact outcome, or did you just want to feel like you were taking your life seriously? The system delivers the thing underneath the goal, which is what you actually wanted all along: stability, competence, self-respect. You get these not by achieving some distant milestone, but by doing the thing consistently, without drama, until it just is part of who you are. And then the nervous system finally rests. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop checking the scoreboard. You just live, and the life you're living becomes the life you wanted. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. So build ones you can live inside. Make them small enough that you can actually sustain them. Make them specific enough that there's no question about what to do. Make them frequent enough that they compound. Don't make them depend on how you feel. Don't make them depend on whether you still believe. Just make them part of the structure of your day, and then stop thinking about it. Let time do the work. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not failing because you lack willpower. You've just been optimizing the wrong variable. You've been trying to reach a destination instead of building a home. A destination will always recede, but a home, if you design it well, will hold you. And the person who lives in a well-designed home doesn't need much motivation at all. They just need to wake up each morning and be there. That's all. That's enough.